what are the actual differences that people would see that would tempt them to, try Amazon DSP versus just spending more money on Amazon Ad Console?
It's usually when you start to see any form of downturn in bottom line profits.
Hmm.
What I mean by that is like you spent 10K on PPC ads and you made bottom line, let's say 3K. You spend 15 and you still made 3K. Typically, what I recommend to brands is scale PPC as high as you can. The way that I look at it is basically put every dollar you can into PPC until you start to see some sort of diminishing return, right? Like if I can put a dollar into PPC and I get $2 out, I'm going to do that forever.
Hmm.
Like it's infinite money machine. Eventually, you're going to hit a point where you put in a dollar and you get out 50 cents. Once you do that, that's when you launch DSP.
Okay,
Scale PPC as high as you possibly can. Let's say it's 20, $30,000, but there's always going to be a point where as soon as you put in another dollar into PPC, you're not going to get $2 out. There's always going to be like there's this point, whether it's based on the query, whatever it is, you're eventually not going to get out as much as you put in. That's
sure.
when you launch DSP. And then when you launch DSP, your conversion rates just generally rise. Your PPC conversion rates rise. And it's just ride the PPC train until you hit 20, 30K a month. And then you start to see a point where you don't make as much money. And then at that point, you launch DSP, both things raise, and that's when you're ready. If you can put in $100 to PPC and you get out $200, do that every time. But there's gonna be a point where you put in $100 and you get out 50. That's when you launch DSP.
And the reason it's able to go farther than the ad console is because of the advanced targeting, correct?
Yeah, I mean, just because like sponsor display, like you can do retargeting, you can do a lot of these things, but it's far less customizable
Hmm.
in the sense of how many days do we look back? Can we negate purchases? Can we like if you're gonna spend one, two, $3,000 a month, just do it through sponsor display. As
Hmm.
soon as the $5,000 a month mark, DSP makes way more sense. There's just more control.
What do those look like? The specifics that you can target.
So I would say that's a big piece of it, right? Is retargeting is only really retargeting if you can negate people that already bought. The attribution is a lot better, I would say. Because the main question, right, like between PPC, between sponsor display and between DSP is that if it's a view through attribution, how many of these are real? Like if they didn't click, like how do I know that this person actually was introduced to my product via this ad and then bought via the ad they were served? That's the main
Yeah.
issue, right? So one way that we can do that on DSP that sponsor display doesn't have access to is you negate purchases, right? Like within sponsor display, you can't do that. So ultimately somebody buys your product and you're still serving them ads for 7, 14 days after they bought the product, which is a huge waste of money. A lot of the times people use AMC for targeting reasons, right? Which is this person added to cart and only gave purchases and I'll serve them ads. I usually use AMC actually for negation. Like if this person already viewed my product and they added it to cart and they didn't buy it, I'm not going to serve them ads because they ultimately, probably a good reason they didn't buy the product. They bought something else. I know that these sound like trivial, like minor things, but at the end of the day, when you're doing this at scale, it's not. I don't know. Most people use AMC for abandoned cart audiences. I use them for negation and I
Okay.
use them for basically just finding audiences that if they've been exposed to my product, they haven't already made a decision to not buy it. Because if they've made that decision, they bought something else, it's a waste of an impression, in my opinion. I'd rather serve an impression to somebody that's never seen my product before versus somebody that has adequately made a decision they didn't want to buy it.
By AMC, are you talking about brand tailored promotions or
Amazon Marketing Cloud.
Amazon Marketing Cloud? Okay. So what is Amazon Marketing Cloud?
So Amazon Marketing Cloud is a data aggregation system that Amazon put out a couple years ago. Typically, you only could access it if you already used Amazon DSP.
Hmm.
Recently, they've rolled it out to make it more, I guess, accessible to the masses.
Okay.
The Marketing Cloud is essentially originally you had to know how to like run Python scripts in order to use it. Now they've made it more accessible. So Amazon
Okay.
Marketing Cloud's basically, if you're running Amazon PPC and Amazon DSP, they live in two totally different ecosystems. Amazon Marketing Cloud via merchant token, which is an identifying token that utilizes your Seller Central account, it can pull the data together. So like how many people are looking at a DSP ad and then clicking a PPC ad and then buying. You don't really have access to that data due to the fact that Amazon DSP lives completely outside of Amazon PPC Seller Central. How you combine the data and tell me what is my DSP ad exposure doing to my PPC conversion rate? You don't really have an answer to that question. Amazon Marketing Cloud is how you answer that question.
Okay.
Is
Good.
What's my conversion rate based on just a PPC ad is, let's say, 10% versus somebody that saw a DSP ad and then clicked a sponsored product ad, it's 40%. So that tells me that the upper funnel awareness tactics that I'm using on DSP are actually impacting my PPC conversion rate.
Hmm.
And how else do you know that? Like you're just guessing. So Amazon Marketing Cloud AMC is how you actually understand this information. It puts everything together. It puts everything together for you so you can honestly just put your ad dollars in the right place. That's the whole point. And it
Okay.
used you could only access AMC through Amazon DSP, demand side platform. Amazon has so many goddamn acronyms. I know, but you only used to be able to access it through Amazon DSP. Like if you had a DSP seat, you could get Amazon AMC access and then you could see it. Amazon has very recently allowed AMC access through Seller Central. So now, even if you're not running Amazon DSP, you can get access to Amazon Marketing Cloud and you don't have to understand SQL queries because I sure don't
Hmm.
to use it. And that was originally I would say the big barrier was I didn't know how to write SQL queries. And that was the only way to use it on AMC. And now you can use it without it.
Okay. Very interesting. And now it has a visual user interface that you can access and see the data. Even if you're not using DSP, you can see the data for your Amazon ads that you're running, sponsored product and all that.
Yeah, that they just came out with that like I would say 2 months ago.